we can start lah. Huh? We okay. Let me take over the screen. Then let's get right to it. Let's not waste time. Share screen. Which desktop I want to share? Okay, there we go. Super. Okay, y'all can see my screen, yeah?
Geoff, I think you need to change your settings in your screen to HD instead. Now it's 1440.
How?
Go to your monitor settings in system preference. Yeah, sorry guys, we forgot about this one because
optimize screen share for video clip. I don't understand, man. Fuck
no,
me.
no. Go to your Apple iOS, your OS X.
Okay. Yeah. System preference, and
then in display,
which is this one. Oh, this one.
Yeah. Change it to 1080.
Hey, it's not here. This is this
scale.
Is, this display.
Yeah.
And then
click scale,
and then
1080.
This one 1920 1080.
Yeah. And then so now it's bigger because those that are using their phone and those that are using tablet can't really see. Okay. So unless you are viewing on your laptop or your computer with a monitor, then it seems bigger. Okay. So at least people can see your layers.
Okay. It's damn shit for me right now lah.
Of course.
okay, never mind. Being a photographer, this is like a nightmare seeing bad resolution. Okay.
Yeah, but then also means you can lose those glasses for now because everything is bigger.
No, cannot. I cannot. I still cannot see. All right, guys. Hello. Welcome aboard to our little fun evening of beauty retouching. Well, let me say a little something about retouching before we go any further. Right, retouching is something that that is very powerful. I mean, wait, let me move things around. Everything is everywhere. Okay, retouching is a very powerful tool. Please remember that. And we need to be very mindful that retouching should be done with a very, very soft touch. A successful picture is something that looks natural and doesn't look retouched. That's when you are very successful at your retouching. When you spend a lot of time retouching something and it comes out looking so effortless, so beautiful, so natural, that's when you're a good retoucher and you did a good job. That's always my aim going into every image that I do. I try to have that in mind. So that is quite simply my baseline approach to retouching. Okay, and everything that I do in retouching, I do it in a non-destructive manner. In a sense, everything's in layer. I do not commit to anything. A big disclaimer to everyone: retouching, in terms of technique, there are 101 different techniques to do the same thing out there. What I'm doing is just my style, my approach, right? You might have done it a similar way, perhaps doing it in a matter of 5 clicks, whereas I did it in a matter of 3 clicks, right? Or 15 clicks, and then you did it in 5 clicks. So sometimes it's more efficient, and sometimes it's not. But it doesn't mean you won't get the same results, right? Sometimes it's just the same results being more efficient, and sometimes it's not about being efficient. Sometimes it's about spending the time going right into pixel level and actually moving things, pixel to pixel, shifting things, blending things to make it that image ever so perfect. So that's always been my goal, to approach retouching in that way. All right. I always zoom in. I always zoom in hard. Always zoom in 100%. Okay. And then I will review everything. For me, it's about detail, because you have the power to change an image so greatly that you need to have that eye for detail. And I always feel that that's what separates the boys from the men, is your eye for detail. So okay. Well, where do I start? Okay, before we go there, let me just very quickly as well show you this session here. Wow, see lah, my fucking screen. How do I move this away? Oh, okay, cool. My screen has been all pushed. Wait.
You just right click.
It's okay.
And then
I'm loading Capture
itself.
One now. I'm loading Capture One now. Okay, very quickly. I just saw Capture One just announced a new update coming soon, and that's going to be pretty epic actually. The new Capture One will have healing brush built into Capture One, and what's the other tool? Before after slider, real time within the image. So I think these are two fucking amazing features that's coming out in the new Capture One update. So I'm very excited to.
Is it a new version or is just an update?
It's an update to 20. So that's coming up in the next few weeks. They just launched it, and I'm very excited to muck around with that.
So but there's already the healing one. There's already the healing in Capture One. I was doing.
This one is a very different one. It's very, you can plot an area, you can blend an area, you can you go and see the video. Very powerful. Very powerful. Okay, so taking off from Brian's session last week, he did Capture One. Here I want to show you the process of this image, for example, so that there's a relevance to the next step coming up in Photoshop, right? So this is my raw image. Okay, this is my raw image. Here you see this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it's been treated, right? How it's been treated from a raw into a color treatment, into a contrast treatment, how I bring out the specularity, how I pop the highlights, how I bring out detail in the hair, detail in the shadow, how I made the skin tone so much more sexier, things like this. That you can see, right? So if I toggle between this and this, you can see in this area here, you can see that the sliders are starting to shift, right? The sliders are starting to shift. Let me just pull this out, show you this all at the same time, right? Okay, you can see what's being shifted, okay? Here, exposure, I don't do much. I pretty much did nothing to it. I did nothing to it because why? I've got a very balanced image, it's well exposed, I have all the detail, all the gamut that I need here. So, okay, I leave it, okay? I did say that I usually cut my contrast, but in this instance, I kind of like the contrast, so I left it, right? Next being my color temperature, which was fine because it was generally a flash image, so flash being very white, very clean, I didn't need to color balance because it was really white balance. So what I did was I went in and I start shifting things, right? I start crushing down the highlights here, right? So I can bring in a little bit more detail, like you look at her whites, you look at her skin, right? It doesn't feel so burnt, right? So I pull it down roughly 50 something. I'm happy with that. Shadow, I open it up a bit from here, right? I open up the shadow somewhere here, kind of nice, lifts up the shadow, but there's already shadow and it still feels like a shadow, right? Even though I brought the shadow up, it still feels like a shadow. It's not going to the point where, there's no shadow, for example, right? I still want the shadow to exist, but I just want it ever so slightly. Again, a very soft touch. Always remember soft touches. Caress, right? She's so pretty, you want to caress. Okay. Then clarity. Depending on my subject matter, I will boost my clarity here between 20, 30, 40. This one I went 45 because I really want to go for that really sharp look. This was shot with a Leica. This was shot actually at one of my Leica workshops. So as you can see here, it's pin sharp. Reading ISO 100, 125 f16, right? On a 68mm zoom lens on a Leica SL. Right? Okay, so happy with dynamic range, happy with the clarity. So what I did was I just came in here, I mucked around with shadows. As you can see, I went a little bit cooler on the shadow down. My mid-tone, I went a little bit warmish, yeah, a bit orangey. to give my midtones a bit of that richness in her beautiful skin tone. And then in my highlights, right, I went a little bit to that slight cyanish tint because I felt like I needed that to counter the yellowness of the skin, so to speak, right? The one thing that I did here was boosting the highlights, boosting just the highlights in terms of the whiteness of the highlights. So here you can see this is normal, right? Which was to me nice because my lighting already gave a highlight, but I wanted it to go a lot more to bring out that whiteness. You see the specularity on the face is just popping. That gives so much depth to the image. So this is kind of how, you know, I graded, right, that beautiful tint, that beautiful look to achieve a raw file. Then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to process this image, right? So like any good cooking show, you cook the image already, right? So here I have an image that's already cooked. Here is that raw file that I cooked already. I brought it in. Okay, so what I usually do is essentially I will work with okay, this shouldn't happen here. I will throw this away. This should be essentially my background layer. Okay, so I did this for your this is your background. This is your base layer. That your base layer is your raw file that you do not touch, for example. Okay, and then I will have so for example, I brought it in. So this is essentially my I'm so sorry. This is essentially my background copy. So I delete this. I made a okay, so this is essentially my background copy. The log image that was imported in Capture One, you got a beautifully clean, lovely, bright, color graded image. Right thereafter, like if any of you who followed me, our session with Brian, remember I said I do not like using Capture One's hue and saturation. There you go. I do not use hue saturation in Capture One. I do it in Photoshop. Right. I like the fact that I'm able to control my own. Okay. Hue and my saturation with more precision, and the way they saturate in Photoshop is a lot more natural. So here I -10. As you can see, another thing that I do in Photoshop is I push all my tools to the right of frame. Right, Photoshop by default will have this tool here, and then the other tools on your right. What will happen? Your mouse will have to go to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and you spend time going left and right. I'm right-handed. I put all my tools to the right, so it's always on my right hand, ready to go into the picture. I don't have to overextend myself to the extreme left of the screen, so to speak, right? So try and think efficiently like that always. Okay. So as much as here I brought the image in, I've already retouched the image. I will show you another example of retouching, right? For your benefit later. Okay. But essentially, as you can see here, right? If you talk about raw, man, things are all over the shop. Okay. Okay, cool. Sorry, right? So if you look at what I retouch, right? What I retouch from raw, right? I took out the hair bits. Can you see the hair? The very thin hair here, the hair here, very tiny bit. To be honest, there's really not much retouching to be done. This girl is pretty perfect on her own. I didn't do much, to be honest, right? I just popped her and created this beautiful grade. Then thereafter, what I did was I created this white vignette here, right? Using curves, right? How I did this process is essentially by coming down here. So let's say I switch this off, okay? Let's say we don't have this, okay? Let's throw this away, for example. I come to this half circle, right? You come here, you click on curves. It creates a adjustment layer. It floats above everything. And then what I do is I look at how bright I want it to be, maybe about this bright, for example. Okay. Then what you do, you press Command I to make it black. So it becomes non-existent. And then what you do is you reach out for a brush. You reach for brush B on your shortcut on a Mac. I don't know, PC, sorry. So you toggle it by pressing X, a white brush and a black brush. Essentially, a white brush would paint in what you just did. For example, this is what I just did, as you can see here. Okay, if I press X to toggle it to black, as you can see here, I can actually rub off So and then you can see the difference already. You can actually correct your mistakes, so to speak. So if I come in here on the hand, it's too much. I press X on the black, I can black out, so to speak, right? So you can actually check your mask by pressing your backslash button, right? The one that's beside your brackets, below your delete button. By doing that, you can see your mask, where you painted, so to speak. So what I do here is I just create multiple masks. I'm sorry. I create multiple masks to create this white vignette, right? To create this white vignette, Command I rub, white, I rub, I create this, I rub, I create this, la la la, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I create this white vignette look. That's something that I've been doing for a while now. I love that look as opposed to a black vignette. I feel it gives quite a very ethereal look to my pictures. What you can see here is also the fact that I put in only very essential things that I need in all my layers, in all my tools, right? You got all these bits here, you got all your tools here, I got history, I got actions, I got layers. That's kind of what I need. I don't need anything else. I don't need to know, all those funky things about color or whatsoever, because I don't use them. I'm not like a color separator, for example, right? I'm not a graphic designer. I don't need the font button, stuff like that. All right. So I'm very particular about making my screen very clean so that I'm not distracted by anything. And another thing that I do as well is I make it a point to retouch on a gray screen. I don't like having any other color because it would influence my eye when I'm retouching, or it would influence my biasness towards a certain color. So imagine if I have if this is my desktop, right? If my desktop is a picture of a red color Porsche, right? I'm going to be very red biased, and then I'm going to put more blue into my picture because the red is infecting my eye, for example. So I don't have fancy wallpapers on my computer. It's boring as fuck, right? It's gray, or usually on a darker spectrum of gray, like a dark gray, medium gray, so that my eye is always constantly neutral. Colors don't affect me. I create my own color, right? So here we have this full screen. I like to work clean, so I don't have my icons and my desktop behind influencing me, for example. Okay, so this is kind of how I did this particular image, nice and clean. There's not much retouching here, so to speak. So okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna show you my next picture, which is all over the shop right now. Where the hell is are they? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so this is quite a hefty image. As you can see, there's quite a lot of layers here, right? So this is a very simple image that essentially I was doing actually a test shoot in a hotel in Sentosa with Siobhan. We were doing some test shoots with some talents and models. And my wife, which is in this picture, visited the set, and then there was a big bathtub in the back, and I thought, hey, it's kind of cool, you want to jump in? And then she jumped in, and we did this very impromptu picture with zero lighting, just daylight. She just hopped in and we did this picture. So it's kind of fun. As you can see, it's very impromptu. She still had her her lines and stuff stuck there, but I mean, very simply removed. And then obviously it was a bathtub, and there were the edges of the bathtub that I didn't like, so I added more water into the picture, and so on and so forth. So here what you see is an additional layer that I will duplicate of the original image, right? I will always duplicate an original layer of that image so that I can work on it. I do not work on the background itself. Like I said, I work non-destructively. So I always need the original thing to stay behind it. So if I need to go back, I need to toggle what was done. I know what was done, for example. All right, I know what was done. Okay, so here I went in, clean up the face, remove whatever lines there were, lighten the hair on her arms, for example, and so on and so forth, just to make it that little bit more perfect, so to speak, right? Here you will see a little bit of unsharp mask happening here. I will teach you how to do this in a bit as well, right? And then you see the evolution. Let me show you the evolution of this image. Everything is done again all in layers, right? All in adjustment layers. So as you can see, as I move, you can see things happening, right? As I move, you can see things happening, all ever so slightly. Every adjustment layer happens very, very subtly, right? Here you can see actually this particular layer is actually just so lightly here. You can't even really see it, but it's there, right? Here is a bluish tint that I created to create that look. This one, I created a darker water to hug around her, for example. I went in to spark up the brightness of the water, darken the water again, highlighted the water as you can see, right? Shaded her down because I felt that certain parts of the body were too bright in terms of exposure. So here I dodged and burned. Now, dodging and burning is something you do with an adjustment layer, right? Here you can see this is the adjustment layer. So quite simply, let me show you how I did this. For example, I wanted okay, going back again, these were the two areas that I dodged and burned, okay, because I felt here and here was too bright. You can see before, after, right? So let me do it. I'm going to come here. I go to curves. I'm just looking at here now. I don't look at the face. I'm looking at the white area. And then what I do is I bring down the curve to a darkness that I feel is nice. That kind of works for me, right? Then I use my arrow key. I toggle it a bit, find that sweet spot. Yes, I like that, right? So what happens? You press Command I to make it black, disappear. You take a brush, a white brush, modulate your size, right? Modulate your size. Then you start to paint in. You start to very subtly paint in all this. Another thing I need to say, use a Wacom tablet, okay? They have a monopoly on this whole entire market. It's only Wacom. There's no bloody any other brand, all right? Do not use a mouse because a mouse, there's no pressure. And then a mouse, obviously, you're not holding a pen, right? We can all write better with a pen. Try writing your name on a mouse. It will be almost impossible, for example, okay? So use a pen because I think we need that dexterity, and use a tablet. I have a big ass tablet that is this size, okay? Why I have a large tablet is because sometimes I need to travel from left to right. Too small, you are working in a very small realm. So you need a certain amount of size for your pen to move, to create certain strokes. So I think that's important as well. Okay, so do yourself a favor, you're going to do good in retouching, get a Wacom tablet. Okay, Wacom, if you're listening, haha, thank you for this tablet, and thank you for the support. Okay, so here, yes, so here is dodging and burning. So here, quite simply, I just tone her down so that she looks uniform across the entire picture, and not only her arms and her body is fair compared to the face, for example, right? Because those places don't see too much light compared to the arms and the face. You will get a natural tan there. So you go in and then you even out the skin, right? Even out the skin. Okay, I get rid of this on this, and then here, this arm was too dark already. Then I brighten this arm up. So here you can see, one is brightened, one is darkened. One is brightened, one is darkened. Then I just start building and building and building. Everything's about building. Then I open another layer to brighten everything up, right? So it's all in this kind of details that you do to create this image again, right? And then here, a very intense vignette to just hug everything together. And then this hue and saturation, which is also an adjustment layer to just take away the bluishness in the water, right? So this is my mask, as you can see. This is my mask. Not a very perfect mask, as you can see. I don't know why I didn't paint this part off, because maybe it was black, right? So you can check your mask, right? You can check your mask by, it's not a perfect mask, because this image, doesn't need to be pin perfect on the edges. I wanted it to be a bit more gradual. So it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to have a not perfect mask, you know, because this image allows it. But if it's a composite where a background meets, of course, you need a perfect mask. And then to top everything off, right on top, the highest layer is your noise, right? This is a noise just to finish off everything. As you can see here, without noise and with noise. Noise kind of gives it that finishing touch to give it that filmic look, to take away that digital retouch look. It evens out, it hides flaws. So always use a bit of noise to suppress things down, create a little bit of low contrastness to just bind everything together, right? So how I create my noise layer, all right? Here's something you do, all right? What I do is I come to this new layer button here beside your trash bin. I hold option, right? Option click. Option click, what's going to happen? This new layer window is going to appear, right? I click on mode. I go to overlay. I create an overlay. I fill it with a 50% neutral gray color. There you can see a gray color box here. All right. So with this, I will then go to filter, noise, add noise. I like noise. I don't like film grain somehow. I like the noise. And then depending on which digital camera I use, if it's like 30 over megapixel, maybe you have very little 5% noise. You know, the higher your megapixel, the more percentage of noise you want to give. So let's say 40 megapixel, 50 megapixel camera, you can go to maybe about 8% or 7%, right? My phase 100 megapixels, I will go to maybe 10 to 12%, for example. So let's try 7% here, right? So here at 7%, yeah, I think it's just right? Just right, 7%. It gives not too big, not too small. If it works based on the scale of your image. As you can see, it's there, and it gives you that niceness to it, that filmic look to it. And this is that image, so to speak, right? So this is a very graded, dodged image. As you can see here, there's a very large amount of layers contributing to the feel, which is literally all these in curves are all dodging and burning, literally dodging and burning, right? So that's the amount of dodging and burning I do, so to speak. Another thing I want to tell you is your history. All right. Remember to go to your preferences in Photoshop. Go to your preferences. Go to history log. I think, is that right, guys? I don't know. Okay. No, maybe general somewhere. I don't know where. It allows you to.
Window.
What I'm trying to say is add a very high percentage of history. Okay, where is it? It's somewhere. Yeah. Let me find it. File handling, export, performance. There, history state 520. Okay. I have a very high-end Mac Pro. You know, the black dustbin souped up, so it can handle a lot of shit. I put in a very high history state is because sometimes when I'm cleaning up skin, I dot. It's very fast. Your layers compounds very fast, and then sometimes I fuck up. I want to come back. I know I have 500 times I can go back to lah. You know what I mean? It's stupid, but why not when you have it? It's like having a fast car. You know, you want to use every single horsepower you have, right? Okay, so this image is kind of there. It's pretty straightforward. I haven't got to skin retouching, yeah. Don't worry, I will get to it. I'm just warming you up with dodging and burning because it's essential to the way you create depth in your image, right? For me, depth is very important. I love creating depth. Okay. Any questions so far? Brian, you have any questions there? Can you help me?
I answered the questions for you already, Basket.
All right, man. Sweet. Tag team, high five. Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So here is that same girl that I started off with, right? This is kind of my one of my signature looks that I do with these white vignettes. Very much inspired by Vincent Peters, this amazing German photographer that has sculpted the way I see things. His eye, his style, his aesthetic, his approaches to flair. He was the one that made me got all excited, with flares in my picture, ever since year 2000 when I noticed his work. And then he's an amazing photographer with a really wonderful eye, and he does quite a bit of this kind of white vignette stuff. So this is my interpretation of that style. Right. This image is lit with just one softbox, a Profoto softbox, a 2x3 softbox, just one light, just one simple light, very well feathered so that we don't burn her arm. It's side lit, but yet very, very balanced. For me, if you look at the kind of work that I do, it's all about finesse. I always finesse everything that I do. I finesse my lighting, I finesse my composition, I finesse my camera settings, I finesse my retouching. So the process from start to end is always a constant finesse. I'm always tweaking things bit by bit to find that sweet spot that everything aligns, and then it becomes this image in the end. So that's very important for me. That process of finessing is a very important process for me. Okay, so here, raw image, as you can see, but not raw. Raw in a sense, it's not retouched, but it was color graded in Capture One, like in the beginning, right? And then here, I did a little bit of hue and saturation cut down to give it that nice, classy look. Here, as you can see, I created a layer to just pop out certain highlights. This is me creating highlights, right? This is me creating highlights. All right. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but let me just show it purposefully, right? This is the layer. This is me rubbing in creating the highlight on the arm, on the tip, on the jeans, on the head, on the nose, on the lip, on the neck, right? So I actually studied where the highlight is. I went and joined the party. I did not create highlights when there were no highlights, for example. It's already there. I'm just highlighting it. You know what I mean? Okay. So it's actually ever so slightly, My highlight is just this ever so slightly. If you can see this line, it's perhaps like 2 pixels up only. And that's it. Again, this is me finessing. I'm not heavy-handed. I don't go, pow. That's heavy-handed, right? You need to learn to be soft touch, that no shadow kick, right? So be ever so light in your technique. Just very lightly kiss it, and it's there. Sometimes that's all you need, right? My next layer is a hue and saturation layer. Here is to remove the color in the wall, right? Because there was a bit of warmth from the softbox, right? Softbox tend to be a bit more warmish in terms of color temperature, but I wanted the coolness of the concrete to come out. I stripped away the color off the wall, for example. Here, this is a shading layer, right? This is a shading layer. Here you can see I shaded her face, right? I shaded her face to create that darkness so that she looks more angular, she looks sharper. Because especially this bit for beauty retouching, you want to create shadows so that your face becomes thinner, sharper, more graphical in that sense, right? So here is this. Can you see this? This ever so slightly, a little bit of that punch. Okay. Then here, building out, right? I'm working on my background. I'm creating this white vignette in layers, right? So this whole chunk is the white vignette, right? I love it, the fact that the concrete starts to develop this patchiness, and then the shadow starts to take on a form of its own. I think it's a very, very classy approach to a fashion portrait. This is what I call a fashion portrait. She stands there. This picture, I swear to you, will stand the test of time, right? You look at this picture 20 years from now, it's still going to look fresh. It's still going to look good. I promise you. That's the kind of photography I enjoy doing. Things that are timeless in that sense. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay, this one. Right. I'm showing you more of the fancy stuff, all the dodging and burning and so on and so forth, so that When I get to the real technical bit, which is skin retouching, that will be the later part in the second hour, so to speak. Okay.
Jeff, I think a lot of people, when they do dodge and burn, right, they tend to, create a color shift in their images when they overdo it, or they're using the wrong
Okay.
what's that, blending mode. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't know about, and then maybe
Okay.
you want to slow down and take care of this a bit. Yeah.
Cool. That's a very good one. Let me do this right now. Okay, let me do this right now. Take this picture. Okay, so quite simply, right? Quite simply, let's say, okay, let me get rid of this. All right, so let's say I want to dodge and burn. Okay, let's say for example, this is the base exposure. Let's say my picture is brighter. Okay, this is your I will commit this layer to her, for example. Okay, this is your base image. This is your master image. Let me just make this a one picture. Okay, this is your master image. This is what came out of the camera, raw, right? And then I'm okay, I want to dodge and burn. I want to create a bit of darkening here, a bit of darkening here. The fingers are a bit too bright, for example. The hand here is a bit too bright. So here's what I do. I come to curves. I create that adjustment layer. I look at those problem areas, fingers, right? And then I darken, right? Okay, sometimes when you darken, for example, when you darken, right? Let's say now I over darken, you can see it starts to get very deep brown, very deep orange. This is what I call overcooking. You are overcooking the density of that crushing of that layer to the point where the color starts to shift towards a dark orange. Doesn't matter. Let it be. Okay, go ahead and shift it. Don't worry about it. Darken it, for example. Okay, so here I am going to darken it to maybe somewhere here. This is again for demo purposes. I'm making it purposefully dark. Okay, then I go Command I, make it disappear. Take a white brush, right? Take a white brush, and then I'm going to paint it in. All right. So as you can see here, it's starting to feel very obviously it's burnt. It's like charred. The skin feels charred, don't you think? Right? So what do you do? Again, this is for demo purposes. I don't usually do it so dark, but imagine you want it this dark, right? So what do you do? It's charred. It's, what I do is I hold down Command key. All right, I hold down Command key and I click on this mask. You will see these matching ends happening around this image. This means it's selecting this particular image. It looks a bit phallic, but anyway. Okay. So you see the matching lines, right? So from there, it's essentially pulling out that particular adjustment area that I did. And then you go back down, you go to hue and saturation. Click on hue and saturation, and then it will give you the exact same mask. Can you see? The exact identical mask. And then you come here and then you just pull down your hue and saturation. Voila, done. You take away that overcooked, overcharred, brownish skin that was over darkened. Right? There, done. Everything comes back to a bit more blended, neutral look. You're taking away that overcookedness, that raw, that orangey look, because that's what happens when you overbake something, especially when you're pulling into shadows, right? Okay, so that's how you do it, Brian.
Yep.
Yeah. Answered that.
Yep.
Answered that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So this two has to be binded together. Yeah. These two has to be binded together. It has to work together. Yes. Who was that speaking?
Sorry.
Douglas.
I just want to check with you. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, guys. I'm just wondering, apart from what you're doing, the saturation method, right? Will you be able to do it in another way? So, I mean, I would have done it. I mean, sorry. How do I say it? Okay, if there's another option, sorry, Brian. If there's another option,
don't nervous.
Would it be a case whereby you choose the toggle between the black and white, opacity on the area whereby it's overcooked, lighten it a little bit? Would you do it over this option compared to the one that you just did over saturation?
I find with this saturation, I'm able to dial in the saturation. I'm able to be more precise. If you use opacity, yes, you can kind of do it, but but it's also it's again another way of doing it, right? That both ways might possibly get you the same result, but I think hue and saturation just gives you that added layer of controlling saturation, because when you darken that bit, it went saturated because of the darkening. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this brings back to the question that I was asking earlier, because sometimes when you use an easy way of editing, like a shortcut or something like that, and you use a wrong blending mode, and when you try to darken a shadow to become very dark, the skin suddenly becomes red, and then after that you have to create another layer and desaturate that part. So this is a lot. This is what happens to a lot of photographers when they are doing their own retouching. This is a very common mistake actually. Yeah, or when you're brightening and then suddenly, your skin becomes greenish and things like that. Yeah. So this is actually a way for you to learn how to actually non-destructively, dodge and burn. Yeah, especially when you, for example, if you didn't shoot it well enough, you try to save it in Photoshop. Yeah. Yeah.
Another way that you can do this, but not with such accuracy by painting and creating a mask, is with Capture One. There's this very cool feature in Capture One called Luma, right? In Curve, they have this new feature that has been in the past few versions called Luma. Luma is essentially that same thing. Okay, for example, here, if I go RGB, you see when I crush down, you can see that overcharged orangey look in the skin, right? But if I go to Luma and do the same move, it doesn't char the skin, it doesn't warm the skin, it doesn't orange and saturate the skin, it just goes dark. It's the same thing, but a very withheld saturation. You know what I mean? I can darken without affecting saturation. So you can do that in Capture One beautifully do it in Luma Curve. Another technique that you might possibly do, and this is something that I do sometimes, is I double process an image. So for example, I process this image, right? This is my base master file. Then I will process another image with a slightly darker Luma correction to it, and then I process this again, right? Then in Photoshop, I will have two images, I layer upon it, and then I paint in the areas I want darkened. Ta-da! Right? That's again another same technique of the same thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
right?
what Geoff is doing is that, because if let's say most of you, okay, actually in fact most of the photographers who are shooting your personal work or maybe like not so high end kind of work, you do not export TIFF, you will export JPEG. The moment you export from RAW to JPEG, what you do is that you lose a lot of information already. Yeah. So when you try to dodge and burn, you will lose even more and then you save. So if you do it in Capture One and using the Luma function, and if you have two files, that means that you double process the two files, you potentially will be able to have the highest information in these two files, and you can get a better print out of it if you're doing large prints and things like that. Yeah.
Or within Capture One, you can create layers as well. You can do one layer Luma, one layer this, and so on and so forth. For me, I don't use Capture One to do those layers is because of habits. I've been using Photoshop since version 2 point something. That's like 20 over years ago. Some of you not even born. So for me, it's just habit. I don't know how to do those layers in Capture One. It's just frustrating for me. So I'm very old school. I keep it to Photoshop, and I bring it everything, and I have the precision of Photoshop to do all these things. Right? As much as Capture One is starting to become amazingly powerful today, I think you'll come to the point where you don't need Photoshop anymore. To be honest, I think it's almost there. I think it's 99% there. So yeah, it's interesting times. All right. So yes, that's done. I was going to go here. Okay, so this image, for example, right? Here, let me show you evolution again. All right, this is master file. Okay, I always, again, going back to that bit where Brian said JPEGs and everything. So let's set the record straight. When you process a file from Lightroom, from Capture One, always process it into a TIFF. TIFF gives you the most information, is the best resolution. It gives you the best possible file. Do not retouch anything on a JPEG. JPEG is your delivery. You finish off everything in a JPEG, for example, okay? And then, or you just finish off and deliver. Ideally, you deliver in a TIFF, but that obviously is full resolution, okay? So it can get pretty hefty. JPEG is end of day for me. Is when I need to just post online social media kind of stuff is JPEG, but I deliver files always flatten with TIFF. That's how I deliver high-res files, okay? Nothing else is as high-res as TIFF, for example. Another thing I want to say, my images are always saved as a PSD, all right? Always saved as a PSD. At any one time, I'm able to go back, like you can see here, PSD, 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 right? PSD, everything is in PSD, as you can see. Everything is PSD, all right? Because at any one time, I can go back into Photoshop. Shit, okay. I can go back to Photoshop and everything is there. My layers are there. I don't commit. I can at the whim of a fancy of a creative director or a client, I can change anything. I can correct anything. It's non-destructive. So I always save all my layers in PSD. I do not flatten my file. That's my work file. Then I finish that file. I compress it and save a TIFF version as a copy, and I deliver that file. Nobody takes my PSD. PSD is something I keep. It's for me to tweak, okay? Or my retoucher or whatsoever, okay? So here, as you can see, this is my retouch file. In my retouch file, this is what I did. I removed, for example, marks, moles, and stuff that I sometimes don't like, because to me, moles feels like camera dust or feels like a mistake. So I tend to remove it as much as I can. So I remove the moles. Here you can see I clean up her skin because the light is so harsh. It's probably from a silver umbrella or a beauty dish that was very hard.
Geoff, you might want to explain this picture first before you move on, because I think people will be thinking like, huh, this shot is like Photoshop already. Yeah.
This is raw leh.
Yeah, you see everybody face stunned. We look like, okay, this shot was shot as it is because it was a motion. It was shot with stroke and also like continuous light. That's why the motion, everything is in camera on. Yeah, it's not already Photoshop and then.
Yeah, this is a technique called shutter drag, right? Shutter drag. Okay. So here you can see telltale signs of a shutter drag. Everything that is touching the tungsten lights is shaking. It's shaking. It's shaking. Yeah, it's a ghosting. So what I did was I lit the edge lights from behind, right? I literally took a hot light and I edged this. This is the hot light here, right? The front light here is the flash. This is the flash, but the flash disappears. If it disappears and it will become black. When it becomes black, your tungsten will burn in the long exposure that you're doing. So maybe this shot was like maybe half a second, not half a second, 1/8 of a second, for example, or 1/4 of a second, right? So I snap the shot, the flash disappears, this one stays, and then I shake the camera. I literally shake the camera left and right to create this movement on the edges. And that's how you get this beautiful movement in the picture, shutter drag.
Yeah, so this is actually out of camera already look like that. So don't think that, Geoff is taking shortcut and then showing your Photoshop.
Yeah.
Already.
If everybody knows me, I am an in-camera guy. All right. I always make it a point to get things in camera because I think there's so much more organic look. There's so much more of a realness to it. If you can do it, right? Don't be lame, don't be lazy, push yourself, get things done in camera. Okay, so here as you can see in my retouch layer, I made her neck slimmer because after the bandage her neck became very thick, right? So I made it slimmer, for example, and I cleaned up her face, right? Her face was very, very quite scary in terms of the amount of light hitting it. So a lot of shadows, a lot of pimples, and so on and so forth. So I removed all that, as you can see, right? I totally removed all that. Let me just check something. Okay, so cool. And then this here is a unsharp mask. Okay, I create an unsharp mask to give it that little bit of a punch. Right here, you can see. Can you see the highlights? I don't know you guys can see it, but can you see the whites becoming whiter? Can you see the lips? Look at the lips. Can you see I'm toggling? Things became that much more contrasty, much more like crispy. Right? This is a technique I do a lot. And how do I do that? Let me show you. So with this eventual layer that I've retouched, okay, what I'll do is I'll copy a layer here. I'll copy this layer, I'll throw this away, for example. Okay, I copy an extra layer here. What I'll do is I'll go to filter, go to other, I go to high pass. Right? High pass, and then it will become this very strange gray color thing, right? And then it depends how sharp you want. You can make it super, super sharp, which is kind of scary. Again, finesse, right? That soft touch, right? So maybe like, you know, like 5%, 8%, like, you know, I think I remember I did it for about, you know, I just now was 7 or 8%, right? So let's say 8%, right? 8 pixels, right? So I just say, okay, right? Then what I do is from here, I go to this bit called normal. You click on it, you come down to overlay, soft light or hard light. These 3 layers will then affect and give you 3 different looks of this particular layer that you have just done. Overlay is sharp, soft is very light, hard is very dark, very hard in terms of the full wattage of that layer. I tend to go with soft light because I think it's the most natural. And then what I can do is after punching it, again, this is for demo purposes so that I can see it a little bit clearer. I can see now, you know, everything became really sharp. And then I come to opacity, I bring it down, you know, 20%, 10% until I find that nice little sweet spot where it's not too sharp, but sharp enough to give it that crispiness. And that's where it is. This is my unsharp mask, so to speak, right? To create that crispiness in my pictures. Okay, so my third layer is up already, done. And then here I start to shade. As you can see, I shade here the cheeks and so on and so forth. Another shade, I'm shading every other bits to darken because, you know, I want the neck to be darker. I want the body to be darker. This is the eye, as you can see here. This is the eye whites, okay? Let me purposefully do it. As you can see, boom, right? I just give a little bit of that eye highlight. I don't want to overcook it, obviously, right? So this is here, right? This is that little bit of a kick in the eye. That's all. And then this one is the hue and saturation of the eye. Because I overcook the eye, I will have to bring down the eye. So I pull the color in the eye, so to speak. I don't know why it's looking like that now, but I think there was a bit of tweaking here and there. Okay. And then what happens next? I think I shifted something just now. And then this is more shading in the body, in the neck. And then here, after shading, it lost that warmth. Then here I created that warmth in this layer, as you can see, this half thing, right? You can see here, okay? And then final layer to top everything off was a selective color. Here you can see I start to finesse my reds, for example. I didn't want it to be too red. I like it to be a bit more classy, a bit more orangey, darker red, for example. Then I go down, you know, bit color by color. I can go and tweak whatever color. Obviously, there's not much other colors here. But white, I push the white. So this is another technique that I do. I can create highlights. Can you see the white suddenly become whiter? Right? Her face and everything suddenly became whiter here. Right? So just by moving this white in your selective color, you can create a punch. You can create a punch in your highlights. So that's a very effective tool as well here for using it. Be very careful with neutrals, be very careful with blacks, because if you touch it, it can go funky. It can go really, really funky very, very fast. Right? These are all heavy-handed stuff you don't want to touch. Right? Very, very funky. Okay? So that's the power of selective color in that sense. All right? Yeah, so this is the image here. Okay. Breezing through, breezing through. All right. This one. Okay. So this is an image I did for fun at home. You can see it's reading a large document format. It's not a PSD, it's a LD, it's a PSB. PSB stands essentially, I don't know what it stands for, but it's a large document. What happens is if you have a file that's so large, it cannot save beyond, I don't know what's the maximum file size for PSD. I think it's 5 gigs or 10 gigs. Anything above that, you need to save it in PSB, which is large document, okay, which is this one. Let me show you. Okay, there you can see, right? Photoshop is PSD. Large document format is the one that, with your file is very, very high, you need a large document format to save your file. Okay, why it's so large is because I layered a lot of 100 megapixel pictures over this picture to create this picture. if you get what I'm trying to say. Okay, essentially I did this out of boredom, being in lockdown. I wanted to do a public service announcement picture by telling people not to touch their faces. So I came out with this wonderful idea of having a lot of hands over my wife's face. But I only got one wife, so we shot many hands with her. So for example, here, this is the master file, right? The master file. And then I have my retouch file, right? This is my, not really my retouch file. Let me see. Is this my retouch file? Yeah, this is my retouch file, okay? So I didn't really retouch certain things like this little eye bag here and so on and so forth. I left it because I know certain things are going to be covered, etc., right? What I did was I started to layer in this image, which is another image. Okay, if you see this image on its own, it is this, for example, right? So this was layered over this, as you can see, right? This was layered over this, and then I brought in another hand, which is another file. This is the next file, which is this. This looks like this, right? So I have different images that I got her to move her hands around. She stood still, she couldn't move. She just moved her hands. And I kept shooting. And we pretty much rehearsed the hand movements as well. We checked to see if this hand would work after this hand. There's a bit of planning going on. So it took us a while to figure out where we want our hands to be, for example, to create this image that we have, right? So the next hand went in, for example, here, and then let me get rid of this, right? And then the next hand went in. So this is me creating the various layers of the hand, so to speak, right? Layers of the hand, and then I started to finesse the image with all the various layers of saturation, of blendings, and so on and so forth to create this final picture, so to speak, right? This is the final picture, right? Stop touching your face, right? Okay, so we did this for fun. It was a fun little job, and it looks very, very realistic. I mean, the shadows are all there. I went into detail. This is shot with 100 megapixel trichromatic, so you can see it's like pin sharp. You probably can see me somewhere. Yeah, you can see me. Am I wearing my boxers? I don't know. Let me check. No, you can't really see me, but I can see in my balcony. You can see the sky. Yeah, right. Okay, so this was shot in the balcony. Okay. All right. Yes. Cool. All right. So that's a fun little exercise. I think everybody can try this. Shoot your mother, your father, your sister, your husband, your wife, and then lay different hands all over her, and then that could be very, very interesting as an image, as a project. I think I would love to challenge you to try a project. All right. Still haven't gotten to skin, yeah? Okay, still haven't gotten to skin. We are getting there. Okay, so this is a black and white image. Here I want to show you a raw image again, right? Raw image, cleaned up as well. As you can see here, right? All the cleanups, right? You see how detailed I am? Do you see how detailed I am? Every little blemish, every little blackhead, every little freckle, I remove. Every little bit I remove. That's how detailed I am. Can you see that? Right? because when you want to do beauty photography, you got to look at the detail. You got to zoom in 100%. I'm working at this level. When I'm retouching, I'm working at this level. I'm retouching. Okay, yeah. So here I used exposure 5 to create a nice solid Pentomix black and white look, right? And then I created an additional modified layer to layer on, and then I painted in what I wanted in terms of the blackness that I wanted, because I couldn't get everything looking the way I wanted it to look in one image, in one color grade, for example. So I did multiple layers. As you can see, I did multiple layers of the same thing. Here, these 3 black and white images, 3 black and white files to create this final black and white image. Okay, one is for shadow, one is for highlight, one is the master, right? So this is to bring out the hair, this to pop the eyes, and this is again a very good example of dodge and burn in terms of an effect, right? To create a very intense, nice, solid, rich black and white. Okay, because if you look at this is a very flat image. Yes, there's shadows, there is there is a lot of detail, highlights and everything, but it's relatively flat. I wanted it to be a very intense, rich black and white, right? Like this is the base exposure black and white. I found it, kind of nice, but this so much nicer, so much more intense. But it lacked highlight. Boom, I add highlight. And then straight away, my black and white feels 3D. Which would you rather have? Which would you rather have as a black and white? This or this? Right? Straight up. So much difference dodging and burning can do. Okay? All right? So dodging and burning over. All right, let's go into retouching of skin. Okay, so I'm going to share you this image. This is for pawns. A very clean, very super retouched image, because you need that perfection for something like pawns, right? It's about night cream. It's about look at that. Look at how perfect this image is. Look at how clean her skin is, right? Okay. Now I show you the original. Right? Okay. Show you the original. Can you see?
Not scary enough. I didn't see anyone jump off on the screen.
I mean, again, here, you see, it's all about in camera, right? I obviously went through a very stringent casting process to find a model with already nice skin to start with for beauty campaign. You don't want to get, a girl with bad skin to do a beauty campaign, obviously, right? So to start with, this girl has pretty good skin, but she's not perfect, right? She has random things that happens, right? She's random things that happens. Here, let me just come in here. Okay, here, all this moles and blemishes and stuff. And then also the makeup, the concealer. Can you see the concealer here? The cakiness of the makeup. Can you see the concealer here? Right? All this are there's a limit to what my makeup artist can do, and he's one of the best makeup artists already. Can you see how cakiness this is? And he's getting to break already because he's concealing her pimple, for example, right? So it's not going to be perfect, right? So you clean up all these things, for example. So I have a hair layer here. This is to clean up the hair, as you can see here, right? Cleaning up all the stray hair, right? Another layer here. This layer here is to handle, as you can see, these are all the hair. And then this one is the hair, every strand, okay? So here, there are some strands that are jarring to me, right? Some strands that are against the flow of the hair. I remove those, for example, right? Okay, you can see here, is there any more? Yeah, you can see, right? Messy hair, cleaned up, right? And then this layer here is for darkening of the hair. The felt that the hair was a bit too light. We wanted it to be slightly darker, so I created a layer to darken her hair so that it separates the skin. It's too similar to her skin tone just now, for example, right? And then I have this folder here, this image here, layer here called skin blemish, right? Here is me cleaning up the skin. If you look at this layer in itself, it's very scary. This is the retouching of the skin, literally, right? So I can see here. Look at that, right? Let's look at that, huh? Okay, it's a bit scary. I over retouch this area, but don't worry, I'll bring things back. I'll bring details back. It's about finesse again, right? It's about blending through, creating that beautiful, flawless skin. In that sense, okay. So don't worry about that for now. There's a layer here for lips, right? A layer here just for lips. As you can see, I rounded off the lips a little bit. And then there's this layer here called Skin Soft. Okay, this is an additional layer that I did, which is essentially using a very light brush, right? And then I'm just painting that skin tone over to equalize the skin. All right, to equalize the skin to create this clean skin. Without this, it's, you know, you see there's different tonality of the skin. There's the pink, the white, the yellow, the orange. This one kind of blends everything together, right? It gives it a very clean tonality. So this is overcooking it in some ways, but don't worry, I'll bring things back again, right? Okay. This other here is for the chest. The neck was a bit patchy, right? Her neck was a bit patchy here. There's a bit of those blood vessels. We need to clean that out. Again, this is a bloody skin commercial, right? Okay. Sometimes the demands of a skin commercial by skin brands are pretty extreme. They want it super, super flawless. They want me to go over the edge. This is something that I need to balance off, you know? So don't mind me sometimes if I have to do what my client needs in terms of that, right?
So Geoff,
here, this
what would you use to remove, let's say, like the blemishes? I think people are asking, like,
yep.
Would you use a clone tool, or would you use like container wear, or just a healing tool?
I will get into that. I'm just trying to explain to you globally, and then I will break it down for you a little bit more. Okay, so I'll come to that. That's for sure. Okay, so here is just finessing of shading and stuff, right? As you can see, just a few more layers. Let me talk globally first, right? Nails. Here is just punching the nails, creating a little bit more highlights and cleaning up the nails. The eyes, cleaning up the eyes, brightening up the eyes. Some brightening layer, hue and saturation layer, and that noise to finish off, right? A little bit of film grain, as you can see, film grain here that brings back all the details. It feels like skin. It feels quite natural in that sense, right? I didn't want to use certain techniques to pull out the detail of the skin, primarily because they wanted that very soft look. That's why this look was employed, for example. Okay, so how do I remove skin, retouch skin? Okay, so here I'm going to do, I'm going to create an additional layer, as you can see, a copy. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I will tackle the same tool and go around the face with that one same tool in that roughly the same size. So for example, now I'm using your healing brush. Okay, your healing brush. I actually hotkey my healing brush to be A, my stamp, which is this clone stamp, to be S, and then my spot healing, right, to be Z, so that I can work with these three buttons, A, Z, and S. This is what I learned from Counter-Strike, right, to keep all your buttons close. So with my left hand, I can very quickly toggle these three buttons from healing to clone to spot just by moving these three fingers. So I'm very, very efficient like that. So I will start by healing. I will usually get, if I'm going to cover this, it's going to be almost the same size, just slightly bigger than that, around here, right? Around this size. So if this is covers it. And then I will sample as close to this region, around this region, right? Around this region, okay? I won't take from here because that's too far and too bright. I won't take from here because there's hair there and it's too dark. So I want the same tonality. So I take roughly from here, I come here, done, right? This is a healing brush. It's perhaps, the invention of the wheel, and then the invention of healing brush. This is how important healing brush is. Okay, that's how amazing healing brush is. Okay, previously before healing brush, I used to retouch with clone tool. Can you imagine how fucking tedious that is? That's so painful. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, where's my hand? Okay, right. So I come here, I get rid of this. I come here, pop, right? So everything is very light, you know, with just light movements. I come here, I take from here, right? Sometimes you need to go a few times. You need to sample from a few times to lay the right texture, because one time click, as much as it disappears, sometimes it doesn't bring the right texture into that area. So you need to take around a few different textures from a few places to just bring it and get it right, for example. Okay, so here got a big one, yeah, a big one. So I'm going to take from here, and take from here, take from here, take from here, take from here, right? And then, oh, there's a bit of a mushiness and softness here. So maybe I'll just bring in from here. See, I'm taking the right and I'm pressing my brush harder to bring in more detail, right? So that's the beauty of having a pen. I'm pressing my brush actually harder to introduce more detail from the place that I brought in, for example, right? So here, yeah, kind of cool, right? Kind of blended, kind of nice, right? There, done. And then I come here, I do this. So it's very, you know, after a while, it becomes, I actually, to be honest, enjoy retouching a lot. It's very, very therapeutic because you're doing nothing but just concentrating on the microscopic level, right? And then
I'll
I'm
send
just
to
doing
you some
this.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, can. And I'll return it to you next year. Okay. So yeah, right. Very, very therapeutic. You see, now you got me going. I can't stop, right? Okay. So as I move along, right? I'm cleaning things up. This big ass, right, line here. So here, this is usually the problem area for most beauty retouching. This is that bit where most humans being have, but most beauty don't want. And that's how we clean up. Okay, so here I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna just sample from here. I just take one and I'll come in. I will just very lightly remove, take in, remove, right? You got to build. There's no hard and fast way. And while I'm doing this, I'm actually controlling my pen pressure, light, hard. As I'm moving, sometimes it goes from hard to light, or light to hard. So I'm almost brushing it like a Chinese painting, you know, pressure in, pressure out. That's kind of how I do things, right? That line here is kind of gross, right? Okay, so yeah, you just move in and out, right? You get rid of things. So sometimes you want to remove a big one, like this whole chunk. Okay, so what I do is I just go ahead, don't think too much, just grab texture from here, come here, whack the whole bit. Just whack the whole bit first. Imagine you just whack the whole bit. It disappeared. It's kind of cool. It actually works, but it might be a little bit too heavy. But I already did the stroke, for example, right? So what do? You press Command-Shift-F. There's this beautiful button that comes in that's called fade, right? Command-Shift-F. So my last action of that big bold move of that brush, I can go and finesse that entire stroke and control it and bring back what I want. Not too much, not too little, 100%, 60%, 40%, 30%, yeah, kind of 50% is realistic. It's there but not there. You know what I mean? Cool, I'm happy with that. Done. So you see, before, after. There but not there. Very realistic, very subtle. Done. Right? So you can do that with you know, big eye bags and big areas like that by Command-Shift-F. I'll do this again one more time for you to see, right? I'm going to be bold again. I'm going to take this portion. I'm going to take skin from this portion. But before you take skin from this portion, you know what you should do? You should clean up that portion. So go there, clean up that portion first. Get rid of this, get rid of this, right? Get this area to look good first, right? get this area, prep that area so that you can do the big bold move, right? Prep this area, get it done, nice. Looking at an arc, I'm looking at an arc because that's the eye, that's the arc, right? Okay, yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. Open up a bigger brush, this big bold move coming. Here we go, 1, 2, hold, and go. Big move, bold. It disappeared, but I want to finesse it. Boom. Command Shift F. Find that sweet spot. Done. There. Before, after. How about that? There, but not there. No? Cool? Yeah? All right. So yeah, that's kind of how I do things. Okay. When it comes to stuff like that, for example, cross things, right? Things that are intercrossing, right? I tend to like to use spot healing brush, right? Why? Because I can literally just come in here without plotting skin from anywhere. It's very good for spot healing brush when you are cramped, very tight spaces, right? I just go in, I just whack. And then if I have one line, I can literally just go across. This didn't really work. Okay. Usually I can just go across it. It would detect that there's another line. It will preserve that line for you, and then you can just cross. Let me find a better example. Maybe here. Maybe I can get rid of this line. Yeah, you see? It detected that there was a line going across. I just went across this line. Boom. The line disappeared, but it still retained the vertical lines. The horizontal lines disappeared, right? So that's the beauty of spot healing brush. When you have things that crosses each other. I think that's kind of one of the best purpose of this particular tool, right? Or those tight places, like maybe inside the eyeball, there's this red color thing, this thing here, random things. Spot healing brush is very, very good for. So what I'll do is when I'm on spot healing brush, I will go around. Excuse me. I will go around and do whatever I need to do for spot healing brush. You know what I'm saying? So that I don't have to keep doing it in and out. I just handle everything there is to spot healing brush, for example. Right? Whatever the spot healing, I'll do. Right? Random stuff, I'll just do. Right? Get rid and see the detail that I go into. Every dot, nothing is too little, too small for me. Because a lot of the work that I do end up in billboards all across the world. So, imagine that little dot here would be 1 meter big on the billboard, for example, right? In Shanghai, for example, right? So you got to be very detailed when you're doing retouching, when it's going to be blown up to that size. So that blemish, get it out, right? And so on and so forth. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much my approach to retouching. It's a finesse between healing and spot. And then clone. Okay, talk about clone, right? So clone, sometimes certain areas that I need texture, because clone has a better grasp of texture. It brings texture much better than healing brush. So if I need a certain texture from, let's say, this area, there's still a lack of texture here, right? I would use my clone tool. I would bring over that texture. As you can see, I brought over that texture with a lot more success than a healing brush. Again, you got to be very light. How I got that texture in was modulating my pressure, right? I modulated to a point where it came out and then I lift off. If I overpress, it's going to push and create a too much of a texture. So let me show you. If I overpress, this is what's going to happen. Can you see this? Can you see this? Right? You saw that? So that's me overpressing hard, right? But if I be very subtle, I'm very subtle. Oh, that's not so nice. Sometimes you need to just blend certain things. And always be very, very mindful about repeated patterns. There's repeated pattern here. So, okay, repeated pattern. Then I go in there, I take healing brush, and then I go and change the pattern so that I break up and then I don't have repeated pattern. then it feels more random because skin has no repeated patterns, right? There isn't a same thing on any person's skin, never. So you need to break it up, right? And then so on and so forth. Oh, so anyway, okay. I'm not going to go to that detail. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is in terms of skin retouching. Then there's also that blending bit that I mentioned. You remember here, this skin softening? How do I do this skin soft bit? Which is essentially, as you can see, just a very, very soft amount of this thing. So what do is I get a clone, right? I literally get another layer, okay? I can create another layer, for example, as a floating layer of that image, or I just work on a new layer. There's two ways about it. So for now, for simplicity, I create another copy, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a stamp, okay? I'm going to take a stamp. Let me get rid of the retouch. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Let me try and yeah, okay. So for example, right, there's still a little bit of patchiness in her skin, for example. So I'm going to essentially take a stamp. Okay, this is a stamp, right? And then I'm going to get a slightly larger size, maybe about this size, something slightly big, but not too big. And then I'm going to be at 10% opacity, 10% opacity. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub the skin. This is like frequency separation, but I'm going to rub the skin by moving very lightly and softly over a certain area to create this movement of that area. Okay. I don't know if I'm translating it well, but you can see, okay, I am essentially softening. Let me find something with more detail. Okay, maybe here. Okay, here. Okay, so let's say I want to get rid of this blemish area, this reddish patch here, right? Okay, so what I do is I take this clone at 10%, right? I sample from here and I'm rubbing it up and down. I am literally just shaking and just disturbing the pixels. I'm rubbing the pixels literally, right? I'm literally rubbing the pixels to just blur out this area using 10%, okay? Using 10%. So if you see now, can you see it starts to blur off? Starts to blur off. This is how I create this flawless skin, so to speak, right? By rubbing. Yeah. Yes, Lina, you have a question. Lina, how are you? You raising your hand for a question? How do I get to my chat? Let me see. Where is the chat? Chat. Alrighty. Any questions from Lina? No? Just raising hand?
Okay.
Waving? Okay. So this is my way of doing frequency separation. I don't like, and I find frequency separation to be a very lame technique that's very lazy. I like to control. I like to make my things look a certain way. Doing this makes it very organic. It's not like one layer you just whack blur, one layer you just whack this, and then it's a very organic move to it. The images starts to feel very, very organic. It starts to feel real because I'm doing things very randomly and I'm just blending things. It feels like what a skin should be. It should be very random. It shouldn't be too repeated pattern, so to speak. As you can see here, it's starting to feel, can you see it's starting to blend? Starting to blend. That's what I do to create flawless skin, right? So after I even out the skin tone by rubbing it and then blending it a little bit through the different tonalities, through the pressure on my pen, through sampling from darker areas and lighter areas to create, the various highlights and shadows. I lay back texture by creating high pass. I can bring back texture by bringing high pass into the image with a layer, or I can just add noise to that particular area. By adding noise, sometimes noise gives an impression of skin texture sometimes on a global look. So that's a little bit of what I do as well for skin, for example, right? Yeah. So that's almost what skin retouching is in essence, to me, right? Okay. Okay, cool. Another image. Let me get to this one last image, and then we can start asking questions and so on and so forth. Okay, I've got a very interesting image here that I want to share with you in terms of an exercise. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody a low res image of this. Okay, and I want everybody to go and dodge and burn to create this image of mine. For example, I want you to go out there and try to create this dodging and burn image. This image has already been retouched, right? I'm not giving you the raw file. I'm not giving you, actually, maybe yes, I am going to give you. Yes, I'm going to give you the raw file. All right. The raw file is this. Okay. I want everybody to show me this. I want to see this. Okay. So I'm going to give you homework. The winner who can do this image similar to mine, okay, will get 45 minutes with me one-on-one. Okay. You will sit down with me over Zoom one-on-one, and I will give you 45 minutes of my time for free. I want you to look at the sample image, and then I want you to retouch it based on what you have learned today to create this image in finality. Okay.
We'll send the image onto a Dropbox link, and then you guys can download the file in
Actually,
Dropbox later.
I have no need. I have a WeTransfer link already. It's ready to go.
Okay.
But I want everybody to email me your PSD, right? Email me your PSD so that I know you're not cheating. You don't use my image. Okay, email me to geoffang@me.com. I want to see your layers. The person who does it the best will, hey, my time not very cheap. Don't say wow like that. My time not cheap. James.
I will can use Meitu or not?
Yeah, don't frequency separation. Wow, I kill you. Okay, so all right, so this is the raw file. As you can see, this image has been color graded in Capture One. So very nice tonality already. There's beautiful skin tones. There's that richness in the skin. The contrast is there. Everything's beautiful, but obviously not perfect, right? So I want you to clean up every single mole, every single blemish on her. I want you to make her skin beautifully clean. All right, the hair, as you can see here, the hair is all clean. All those conflicting hair, these are what I call conflicting hair. All these are conflicting hair, has to be removed in a very natural way. Yeah. Okay, then I want all the skin to be clean, as you can see. Yeah. Alma, this model, has very good eye bags. She's got literally no eye bags, just very clean lines under her eyes. So you're very lucky. You don't have to do that shit. You just have to remove all these imperfections by way of these small little pimples all around her chin. Yeah. Okay. And clean up, even just a little bit of the mustache that's a bit too hairy, maybe. All these little things I want to see detail. All right. Okay, so the evolution of this image, I create a layer, I did all the retouching of that layer, which is this, and then I go in, I start to do highlighting. This is me highlighting. So this layer here is just punching this little highlight on the eye. You see, there's this highlight on the eye. I made it this little, just ever so slightly brighter, as you can see. And by making so ever so slightly brighter, I made her eye more 3D. Just this two little, that's it. That's all you need sometimes, right? Okay. And then next, right? Next is my other highlight, which is this, right? I'm creating highlights here, right? Highlights here. And this is another layer of highlight. Just again, ever so slightly bringing out the whiteness of the lip, the whiteness on her cheek, the whiteness on her forehead, the specularity of that highlight, right? And then this is the shading layer, right? If you see this layer, this is how this layer looks like. Okay, this is where all the places I darken. Okay, you can see here, I darken. Okay. Yeah, I darken all this to create this more contoured look. Okay, very, very contoured. As you can see, there's so much more so depth to the face. Without this, it's just this. But with these two layers, straight away, you see she has so much more depth to her face. Right? Before, after. Before, after. Can you see that? Right? Okay. Then this bit here is this bit of hair, which was a bit too dark for my taste. I just brighten it up. Okay. Here, I just punch up a little bit of this highlight. I feel like, it's nice to have a bit of highlight here. Punched up the highlight. Here, the eye, I just gave the eye a bit of a glow. Right? Before, after. Just that nice little glow, just to bring some life into her eye. Brighten her eye white, her pupil. Okay. And then this other one is this bit here. There's too much light here. I darken this so that it becomes a non-entity. It was my eye keeps shifting there. Can you see? My eye keeps shifting there. I don't really like that, so I took it away. This last layer here is to make my background super white, right? That was the finishing touch to give it that high fashion look, right? So this is the finishing touch to give the hair that the background that super clean, super white look. And then to finish everything, I have a layer of noise, a layer of grain. As you can see in the shadow areas, that's where the grain comes alive. You can see in the shadow areas, the grain comes alive. There's so much nice textures to the grain. And this is the entire image, right? Yeah. Any questions, guys? Any questions? Before, after. Cool. All right. So
there's a question on facial hair. How do you think? Maybe Stephanie, are you trying to say that whether to remove facial hair or to leave it?
Opinion on facial hair depends on what kind of facial hair. I mean, if it's a girl and she has facial hair like that, I will remove, right? There are limits to what society deems acceptable, in terms of the society's idea of hair, so to speak, right? It's end of the day your call. There's no right and wrong. But it's the retoucher or the photographer's call to lighten and to blend and to make things ever so perfect, so to speak, right? So I think it really depends on from person to person. Okay. I just sent a link in the chat group, that WeTransfer link. That is the link to a JPEG. I'm giving you JPEG so that you don't blow this image into a billboard for me and use my image. Okay, I just want a small image for you to try. Okay, Adrian said he missed the noise section just now. How do we set noise again? Okay, so here I'm going to show you, Adrian, just for you, Adrian. Okay. All right, so noise, what I'm going to do, I'll throw this layer away. I will come to this new layer image button here. I just hold down Option and click on it. It will pop out this new window that says new layer. Okay, you go to mode, click on mode and go to overlay. Right, after you click overlay, this one will then be activated. Fill in, yes. Fill in with a neutral gray, 50% gray. You click on it and say yes. Everything else remains, don't touch, say okay. Straight away, you have this gray box that appears. Remember, this has to sit right at the top of everything. It cannot sit here, because then it only sits below your highlights and below your whatever. It cannot sit here as well. It will sit over. Remember, in layering, everything affects under. The highest one will affect the one that's below, okay? Unless you link it, then it becomes unaffected. But this one, I want it globally pressing over everything, right? So now that I have this gray layer, I can then affect this layer. So I go into filter, I go into noise, add noise. right? 7%, 8%, 10%, 5% depending on your camera, your megapixel. You have to experiment because the lower megapixel camera will have lower percentage, like 2, 3, 4, 5. Higher megapixel can be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on how heavy you want your grain to look as well. All right. So okay, 7%. Make sure it's Gaussian. Make sure it's Gaussian, and make sure it is monochromatic. Okay, because if not, then it starts to get very funky already. You see, it starts to look like this, or uniform starts to look very, I don't know, very uniform. Gaussian feels a bit more random. So here we go, done. When you put it in, it's going to be nice and there. You see, very filmic, very clean. It feels like this was shot on a 200 ISO film. You know what I mean? I don't think any of you ever shot film. Ha ha ha. Okay, so you wouldn't know. Yes, right. Michelle, how do you select the masking? Command I to select, to create a new layer, to adjust the saturation. That one. Okay, again, I'll explain to you. Okay, so you want to create a masking for for an adjustment layer. So come here to this half circle thing, right? Come here to this half circle thing. You click on it. You use curves, layers, whatever you need, brightness, contrast, whatever. So say curves. I click on curves. This white box will appear together with these curves that will appear here, right? If I'm going to go this, I'm going to go this, right? Whatever it might be. Let's say I want to darken very dark. Okay, let's say I want to create nice toning on her nose bridge. Right?
Ngajarin kayak gimana cara.
Okay, so I come here, I do this, I crush down, then obviously everything is very dark because I'm seeing the layer. Okay, so what you do, you press Command I, which disappears the layer by inverting it to black, right? It is essentially inverting it to black because you got white and black here. So you're making it black to make it disappear. But it's still there. It's just disappeared. Okay? So with a white brush, you are going to reveal that tone with a white brush. So you go to brush, I press B for brush, right? With a white one, if you're on black, it doesn't, because you're painting black on black. You need to be white, then you will affect. So you see, if I do this, you can see there's one line here, right? If I do this and this, you can see there's a cross here, right? If I do black brush here, black brush, I do this, nothing happens because I'm painting black on black, right? So I come here, I want to create more contrast here, for example, right? I just go, zoop, right? It's too hot. How? I come here, I adjust. Nice. Okay, happy, right? Or I want it to be this dark, but it is overcooked. Oh no, how? I hold Command, I come here with my mouse, on this box, I hold Command, this square will appear, I click on it, right? Straight away, marching ants will appear. Again, a very phallic symbol. Again, okay, and then we click on here, we go to hue and saturation, and then we cut down that move. Done, right? So in these two layers, I managed to darken without affecting color. Can you see that? For example, get it? Okay, why are you missing out on? Why are you people missing out on things? You just came in, or I was too fast? Zhi-Wai?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I wasn't really paying like 100% attention just now. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Because I was looking. Yeah.
You're surfing porn, is it?
No.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry, because I normally use frequency separation for that. Yeah. So that's curious.
Okay, come. Let me. Firstly, this whole video is available on Facebook after this, right? Brian?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can actually review it, but for the sake of you being so nice, I'm gonna do this again and let you see. So for example, here I work on this this master, okay, I work on this master image, this raw one, okay? I will recreate another layer so that I can let you see. So for example, I want to blur out the skin a little, okay? Around, let's say here, okay? Here, there's a bit of texture, a little bit of hair, and so on and so forth, right? Okay,
yeah.
So let me first and foremost get rid of all these blemishes, right? So that I can, wait, what am I doing here? Let me get rid of some of this so that I can work better. All right, let me get rid of this using a healing brush. What I'm doing is a healing brush. Okay, healing brush done. This patch of skin looks clean. This whole patch of skin looks clean here, right? So I take a stamp, right? A slightly, maybe this size kind of stamp, right? And then I go 10% on the stamp. As you can see here, 10%, right? I click here, I come here, and then I'm just rubbing it a little bit by dragging it a little bit with my pen. I'm literally going like this.
All right.
Okay, so I am just shaking it. Here I can shaking it. Okay. So if you really look at my hand, I don't know, can you see my hand or not? My finger or not? Okay. Let me. Hey, how? Okay. So I'm literally doing this.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So that's almost what I'm doing. So as you can see here, you can see I'm starting to blur the thing already. I over blurred, obviously. Right. This is over retouch. This is like fucking scary, you know. But I would be very, very soft, very, very gentle with it. So at 10% to 5%. Sometimes I'm even going at 5%. And then I'm just doing ever so slightly. This is me doing the right thing. Okay. Me doing the right thing. Okay, let me get rid of this bit. This bit here, healing brush, clone, healing brush, right, healing brush, clone, healing brush, right, okay, healing brush, okay, healing brush, still healing brush. All right. Okay. And then clone. And then okay. So just very quickly, you can see here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a combination of healing brush and stem tool at 5-10% with control of pressure, and you are affecting the skin. Right. So you create this very clean and flawless skin. Then thereafter, if you overdo it on the global level, you can then cut down your opacity of this layer to reveal what's below, which is your original, for example, maybe. Or you can create another layer with perhaps noise, and then you paint back some noise in the skin to create fake skin. And that's how you create flawless skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Okay? Not at all. Okay, go back to surfing or whatever. Okay. Any other questions, Brian?
I answered most of them for you. Okay, there's
Awesome.
one that asking about sharpness. Okay, I think sharpness is also depending on how you want to view your image. Sometimes if you shoot slightly out of focus, then you might want to sharpen, and then I think as long as you don't do it overly heavy-handed, I think it's okay. Yeah.
Sometimes I actually adopt a sharpening of just the eye. Yeah, I actually do this just to create that very subtle pull, because the human eye perceives sharpness far greater than softness, obviously. So when an image there's something that's sharper than everything else, your eye will instinctively go into that area, which is the eye, for example, right? So sometimes I just do a sharpening of the eye, just to give it, that pull, to pull people into my image. And I do that by using high pass, right? So for example, if I want to create some draw into this image, right? For example, so here I will copy another layer. So I got a second copy. I go to filter, I go to other, high pass, right? Yeah, maybe 8% is fine. Click on 8%. I'm cool. It becomes this funky color. I come to overlay, soft light or hard light. I think maybe we can do it with overlay, right? Overlay, and then I cut down maybe 10%, we bring it to 90, 89, 90. So this is before, this is after. As you can see, the eye sharpened and it became very, very sharp, right? The contrast levels and the eye just popped, right? So maybe what I can do now, straight away with this, I click on a mask, which is white, it's revealing the mask, right? I command I, it took away the whole sharpening layer. And then again, with the same principle of a white brush, I brush in, okay? I take a white brush, I brush in the eye. I take here, I brush in the eye. As you can see, this is what I just brushed in. And then now I do this. Can you see the pop? Right? So on a global level, you just see from afar, maybe from here, you get to see suddenly the eye just pops out to you. It just calls out to you because of the sharpness and the highlights and it's popping and la 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 la. Make sense? Okay. Yeah. What's up, Serbi? You mentioned only clone and heal as in stem tool is the last step. Not really. It's actually a combination of these three things. Stem, clone, healing. Stem is clone, healing, and spot healing. So these three tools used together. Not any one tool is for a specific thing, depending on the area of the face, depending on the type of things that you need to remove, be it a hair, be it a pimple, be it a birthmark, be it whatever, right? A scar. You need to use a combination of these three things, sometimes exclusively one of these things, sometimes a combination of these things, to get rid of that particular something. So yeah, there's no hard and fast. What I'm saying to retouching is this: there is no easy way out. This image can take me hours, it can take me days to perfect. I'm always re-looking, I'm always fine-tuning, I'm always finessing, I'm always going there to, okay, let me go back to the original. Okay, I'm always going back to refine my mask. Like here, I come to my darkening mask, right? And then I darkening it to see how it feels. Oh, this is too dark. I come here, okay, maybe here. I come to my bright mask, I push up. Maybe this is too much, maybe just about there. I'm always fine-tuning it. I'm trying to find a sweet spot, a relationship between the shadow and the highlight, to find that nice sweet spot where everything exists beautifully without it being too jarring, without it being too, look at me, I'm the shadow, look at me, I'm the highlight. No, everything should work and exist in this beautiful ecosystem, right? And then that's when your image starts to look very flawless and very, very smooth. You know what I mean? Do I make sense? Yeah. So your images, after you download it, go do it, create the layers as such here and the retouching layer. And then I want you to email me the PSD, okay? Email me the PSD to my email, geoffang@me.com. You can find a way of using WeTransfer or whatever and give me the link. I will go and download it and I will look at it. And then we will go figure. Yeah. People have no Wacom at disadvantage. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
But keep a lookout. Yeah, we are planning something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you mean PSD didn't save? I don't understand, Douglas.
There's another one question, Geoff.
Okay.
Can you show us how do you make the background so purely white with selective color?
Okay, sure, cool. Right here you can see I I have this selective color layer. If you go into my whites, I will push my whites to the extreme, right? And then I'll mask it. So I will create this layer again. Let me throw this away, right? So as you can see, my background wasn't lit perfectly white. You might say, hey, Geoff, you Mr. In camera, why you didn't, expose the background white? I have a reason, okay? I didn't want to overexpose my background white because it would have bounced off the wall and it would have then affected her shoulder, right? It's already affecting already. If you look at this highlight on the body, you look at this little highlight here, it's already affecting her already. It's already bouncing back already. And she's probably 3-4 meters. My studio is fucking big last time. It was 2,005 square feet. I got a big ass studio. She was already 3, 4, 5 meters away, right? But I didn't want it to affect her, infect her. So I don't want the bounce back of that light to be pure white. So I crush it down. I underexpose just that ever so slightly, knowing that I'm going to brighten later. So I left it there so that it doesn't bounce and hit all these white highlights on her body, which is very ugly to me, right? That's usually a telltale sign that this photographer has a small studio, so it's a very atas thing, if you do beauty, you got less highlights. I got a very big studio. I can put my background 10 meters away, So it's an atas thing between photographers. Hidden language, you don't know what. Okay, so this is something I do. I underexpose my background a little bit to a very grayish white. Then I come into this again, this tool. I go into selective color, right? With selective color, straight away you go to your whites. You go to your whites because that is white. Anything that's white will be affected by this. So I come here, I dump. Straight away, you can see everything that has white in it will become burnt, right? But I only want my background to be white. Okay, so how? Can anybody answer me? So how? What do I do? Quick. Command I. Yes, you can do that. That's one way. Command I. You do a mask, correct? Right? Mask, yes. Okay, so you can do a reverse mask, right? Which is I leave it at white and then I take a black brush and then I take away all these areas which is too hot, right? I mask out the areas that I don't want, which is essentially her face. So this is a reverse mask, right? There, boom, done. So now my background is white, right? For example, hey, not white enough, Geoff. Never mind, just take this, duplicate, even whiter, not white enough, even though, it becomes super, super white. Just duplicate, it becomes super, super white. For example, you can see, see, this is one time, right? And then I do one more time, boom, super white, like fucking white. This is white to the whitest white already, double, right? It's so easy. Get it? Yeah, but too white becomes also too white. So sometimes restraint is good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thank you, Douglas. Okay, who else? Awesome, Weilun, you're most welcome. Richard Chen. Okay, Douglas, when you duplicate any or create any layer and then try to save, Photoshop will prompt you to save as a PS. Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for explaining that to him. Awesome. Questions? It's already 10:30, 2 hours. Wow.
Okay, we had a question just now, Geoff, about the top 5 editing mistakes intermediate or advanced photographers still make. What do you have for that? Top 5 editing mistakes.
Overdone skin.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely one. You overcook it in by way of your contrast, your dodging and burning. I think that's a very big. A lot of the students that come through my tutelage will overcook their shadows in terms of masking and creating dodging and burning, and then their hotspot become very hot. It's not it's like a circle. It doesn't it doesn't just blend. It becomes very hot. You know what they will do? They will do this. I'll show you. Okay. This is more often than not what students will do. They will overcook. They don't see the subtlety. They don't see the blend, right? So it's all about a light touch. Always remember, a very light touch, and then always going back to revisit your layers and finessing and massaging. Right? It's about massaging. And the third thing would be detail. They lack the eye for detail. They don't go and see, like for me, this bit here that I took the effort to darken, this is a detail to me, right? So a lot of photographers don't have the eye for detail. They just do and then okay. But that just kills it for me because it takes away the attention from the eye. It's almost the same whiteness of the eye. So you see, look at that, right? So there, it's a non-entity. It's there but not there, right? So I think one of the biggest things that photographers neglect is their sense of detail. They don't have enough detail to, eye for detail to go and nitpick. You got to be so detailed, and so sensitive to all these things and picky. You have to be so picky. I think, all the really good retouchers I work with, they're very picky people. Yeah, they're very particular. It has to be this way. I'm so sorry, Geoff. I need to do it. Sorry, and then they will say, hey, just let me do this. And I like that kind of retouchers. I like that kind of people who have that attention to detail, who takes time to craft the mask, and to balance an image, to extract the shadows for me, to extract the highlights for me. I think these are qualities that anybody that does retouching needs to have. Okay.
Okay.
Exactly, James. It's very scary. You should know, right? When you print big prints for me and for a lot of other photographers, seeing a pimple, or not even a blemish. Can you imagine a nose hair sticking out just 1 mm too much? That in itself is scary, right? That in itself is scary. Nose hairs that are just that little bit too long. This one, oh, okay, Phil, Geoff. Yeah, okay, maybe this one is whatever, but there, right? This kind of stuff, where is it? This kind of stuff shouldn't exist. This is a test shoot anyway, so give excuse. So all these things you need to have, or even just a little armpit hair sticking out, like right? These are the things you should be detailed enough to see, right? Yeah, don't have. Oh, she lucky don't have. Yeah, actually, I should remove this whiteness. This whiteness here is a bit too much for me. I didn't see this. So anyway, Oh yes, when model never brush teeth, for sure, right?
But that one is maybe for before and after dental product.
Correct. Yeah, her nose is not symmetrical. You are very, very right. There is, but you know what? The imperfection is what I'm attracted to. I think sometimes I want the women that I shoot to be imperfect. But that's a good catch from Fang. Yeah, that's a good catch by seeing her nose. Actually, I can do that. Yes, liquefy for sure. So what do I do with liquefy? Sometimes if you don't want your file to be too hefty, you just create a box. Right, I will just come in here, I create a box and say, I want to liquefy this box, right? Then I click on Command-Shift-X, that gives me the file. I come here, I take this, right? I move I push her nose up ever so slightly, and that's it, done, right? Or if anything, maybe there's a bump here, a little bit more, right? Of course with liquefy, once you start to go crazy, and then okay, so done, right? Before, after, before, and after, after, before, done, right? Okay, so yes, I use liquefy a lot for retouching, a lot, with exactly like things like that, right? exactly at things like that. So going back to maybe this image, right? So this image, sometimes because of the lens you use, because of the angle of the head, you know, your face becomes bigger. So here, right, I just made her so much sharper. Right, I just made her so much sharper. There, can you see? Just by liquefying that little bit more to push in. Yeah, so yes, I do liquefy quite a lot. But then if I liquefy already, people say don't look like them. Where to draw the line? It is a balance. Yes, for sure. You cannot. I mean, you know, I liquefy her here, she still looks like the same person. You know what I mean? So obviously you don't go to the point of doing this lah. You know, let me show you extremes, right? You don't go and do this. You know, you don't go and do this and then, right, and then you do this. You know. I mean, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's again, it's about resisting, you know, because like I say, Photoshop is so powerful. You can do so much. So you have to resist doing things. You know, you need to learn how to let certain things be, or ever so subtly leave some mistakes. Because when something is too perfect, it becomes too perfect again. You then the human eye sees it as fake because it's too perfect. So sometimes I purposefully leave a mistake or two, I leave a blemish or two, you know, just to bring back that reality so that the human eye perceives it as, yeah, kind of natural, right? So yeah, it's a lot of psychology involved as well if you think about it. When you retouch anything, you want to create certain kind, you want to evoke a feeling, you want to evoke a mood to the viewer who sees it. Yeah. Looking at how do you manage highlights of the water without drawing attention away? Well, it's a very hard question. It's about finesse lah. I mean, again, I will not found this file. Where is that file again? Where did you go? Okay, it's about, but you know, there's no right, no wrong, Adrian. There really isn't any right and wrong. If you look at the original, right, it's definitely overpowering in terms of the whiteness of the water, all the highlights. Hence, I brought it down quite a lot, right? I darken it down so that the whites don't compete with the highlights on her face. So, you know, it comes in at maybe, you know, half a stop to one stop. As you can see, the brightness here, right? Certain areas should still be bright so that it feels watery, right? But it shouldn't be fighting, then your eye doesn't go there. You know, and if it does, you know, then you start to layer in some tint, or you lay in some shadows, or you lay in some ripples, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you kind of need to know how to see all these things and then deal with it, right? Okay, yeah. Cool. Yes, it was a bit tough, a bit abstract, actually. Not tough, abstract. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. All right. So if there's none, I'm looking forward to you guys. Let me stop share. I'm looking forward to you guys. You know, sending me that image, that PSD file, and I'll pick the winner. I think we will. Brian, what do you think? What's the deadline?
Tomorrow.
I love it. Yes, tomorrow.
maybe for Friday, just before the next event.
I think too soon lah. Too soon. Let's give them next Wednesday lah. 1 week.
Yeah.
Give them 1 week lah. Let them go figure things out. Right up. Fair.
But May 2 is just a few steps only.
Daniel, what do you think? 1 week, Daniel?
1 week lah. 1 week. Give chance.
1 week, Give chance, Cool.
Just in time to send out to a retoucher and then send back.
But you will know what.
I check metadata.
Yeah.
Will we be doing Lightroom tutorials? We don't really use Lightroom. That's the thing, Patrice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are pretty much exclusively Capture One users, which is why we are also, evangelizing that Capture One is the more superior tool. Although Lightroom has its strength, but we find that for our needs, Capture One is the industry standard at our level. Perhaps for you, you need to figure out if where you want to go. If you want to do things that is simple and that is for everyday use, Lightroom, yeah. But if you want to level up and you want to take your photography to a higher level, check out Capture One. It is a definitely more robust tool. It will don't let Alex in lah. It's definitely a very robust tool. It will definitely level you up. Every photographer that I made convert to Capture One has never looked back. Has never looked back. You can ask Brian. You can ask Daniel.
Yeah.
I literally buy them Capture One for their birthdays.
You did not.
I don't know. I bought it for Brian. Maybe I didn't buy for you.
Yeah.
I bought you something else.
Yeah.
So yes, do give it a try. All right.
What Capture One does is that it can output a lot more. To me, I felt that it output at least 20 to 30% more than what Lightroom can do in terms of quality. So just give it a try. You don't have to buy it now. You have the free trial from Capture One. Just download it and try. And then if you manage to use it, and you like it, yeah, by all means do it. Buy, either you can buy the original version or you can also do the subscription basis, so that you always get the latest update and things like that. Yeah.
Lin from where? Which Lin is this? Is it my producer Lin from China? Or who? I don't know. Doing casting now. Definitely my producer lah. Okay lah. Hi Lin. LLL. Okay. Big hello to Lina. I see familiar names. Eugene Go. Hello. Thanks for coming in. Delvin, hi. I'm looking. I'm scrolling through names.
For those who missed out, I think James mentioned that there's a subscription on offer now for Capture One, which is $134 USD per year. It's definitely more expensive than Lightroom, but trust me, I've never looked back. Yeah.
Yes, Warren from Indonesia, James, master printer. Any of you who needs printing, he's the man. He's my man. Yeah. Okay. Any of you who need gear from Indonesia, look for Warren, Prima Imaging, amazing guy. Eric Dinadi, amazing photographer to learn from as well, who also is doing quite a bit of Zoom stuff recently with phase one. Good man. Wen Hao from Come Creative. He is my 3D guy, my go-to guy who does all my Tiger Beer stuff. We've got a pending job that's on hold that's supposed to look pretty epic, but I cannot show. Who else we have here?
What's the printer's name? The printer,
we have
either Epson printer. No, it's James Tan.
We have Eugene Go, who is Brown Color and Phase One. He's the guy to look for in Singapore. Hey, Maritz is from South Africa, from Joburg, commercial photographer. I had a little session with him on 2.0 today. As you know, guys, I run this photographer mentoring program called 2.0. I mentor photographers. I run sessions via Skype or in person when the lockdown is over. Essentially, I consult on your business of photography. I help take you further as a photographer. So that's something I do. Any of you who's interested can email me to ask me more about it, 2.0. Okay. Who else is here? The rest are all just random names that some familiar names like Richard Chen, that photographer, right? Richard Chen, is it that photographer? Is it that one? Because there's I might mix up a different Richard Chen. I'm hoping is that photographer. Yes. Okay. Cool. Hi, Richard. Raphael, for also a amateur photographer with pretty high standards. Does some pretty amazing beauty, fashion photography. Who comes to Raw pretty often when we were doing sessions at Raw physically. Where can you find the full session of this on Facebook? Somebody's asking.
Yeah, it's on Facebook, on our Facebook page, Raw Facebook page.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. A lovely turnout. Thank you, everybody. I hope I wasn't going too fast. I was trying to give as much as I can. As you all know, what we do here at Raw, we do with an open heart and open arms. We don't hold back. We don't believe in hiding secrets. We believe in sharing everything that we know. Why? Because, I think photography should be very democratic. It should be something that is freely shared. Because as much as you know what I know, you are not going to be me, and I'm not going to be you. You can try to be me, but I will always be ahead of you because I know you're chasing behind me and running after me. So in turn, I will work harder. So these are the proponents that pushes me to become a better photographer. And we all of us at Raw share that same sensibility. Brian as well, who is also a very has a very big heart when it comes to sharing and educating, and that's why I think both of us work so well together when we partner up to start Raw.
Yeah.
So again, our sensibilities are firm. We want to share as much as we can so that we can bring up the level of photography all over Asia and Singapore, so that we can all be better together, and in turn we're helping ourselves to bring back the glory days of what photography should be, and in terms of how we should be regarded as masters and not just another photographer, because we take pride in what we do. We spend a lot of time perfecting our craft. It's not a few clicks of the mouse. It's not some stupid software that color grades for you. It's not some stupid software that cleans up the skin for you. We need to bring that masterful approach to photography. We need to bring that craftsmanship to photography so that we can be regarded as masters. Back in the days when I had my heydays 10, 15 years ago, nobody could do what I do. I was untouchable, and that was because photography wasn't freely available yet. Everybody was not a photographer, but today everybody is a photographer. So we as photographers suddenly got lumped into the general public with my auntie, my uncle, my grandmother, my grandfather, who are all photographers. So that's like, what the fuck, right? So I want to push through and not hang out with everybody else and be regarded and stand out and be better than everybody else. So I think that's where we all should aim to go as photographers. Eugene, exactly, glory days. You are one of those who went through those glory days as well, and we really need to see that. I hope in my lifetime I can bring that back and I can see that. Who are all photographers. Okay. Thanks, James. Thank you. Anything else, Brian?
No, too much information to absorb. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm damn shit from answering questions on both sides.
Thanks,
I'm answering
man.
on Facebook. I'm answering.
Oh shit! I'm gonna pick it up for you when you do yours on Friday. So okay, Brian is doing his on Friday. It's again, here at Raw we try to do things differently from everybody else. We want to make what we do to be not entirely different, but that little bit different, so that we can give you something more, right? If we just do what everybody else is doing, then I think it defeats the purpose of doing what we do, spending my time, my effort, 2 hours of your time. Everybody is just wasting. So we really, really want what we share to be deep and meaningful. So Brian has put together this whole talk about demystifying the wedding industry and the wedding photographer in itself. Brian has came through the hard route as a photographer. It didn't come easy. He really worked really hard, and I've seen him work very hard over the last couple of years, and how he brought Antelope up. So I think kudos to him for all that. And I think he has a lot to share. And for those of you wanting to get into wedding or are already in wedding, come hang out with us, and we'll see you on Friday.
I'll share my secrets, and I'll share other companies' dirty secrets as well. So yeah, this is a bait to the competitors to get them to watch my
pre or post wedding,
both. Okay, I'll be talking about pre-wedding shoots, actual days, and all this as well. Yeah, getting the clients how to charge enough. Yeah, and what is enough, how to charge more, and how to be different. Yeah, so all this will be on Friday. And also, I think Gavin was asking about more content. Yeah. So in fact, when Raw itself was, before all this virus thing was going on, we actually have a studio. It's at 48 Niven Road. Yeah. So Raw space itself, the studio is somewhere where we actually hold live workshops, where we actually teach you, talk to you in person. We do live demos. That means that we actually create a shoot with models, with products, food styling, whatsoever, and we do it on the spot so that you can watch how it's done. Because when we do online like this, and we have to create a lighting setup, there are so many variables that you simply see a one-dimensional look on screen. Yeah, and how close do you think the light is to the product, or how big is the softbox? You don't feel that light on you. Yeah, and it makes learning a little bit harder, I would feel. So nothing really beats having a space and to actually stand right in the middle of the set and feel that light that is hitting you, and okay, this power is exactly what you want. Yeah, and the direction of the light, how much to feather, what's the degree, and everything. All these things are all very important to learning, and not simply just you can learn online or just watching a video. Yeah, you get a gist of it. Yes, it helps you to refresh your memory on skills that you have learned, the basics, the fundamentals, but to actually pursue a higher level of technique, you can't just sit at home and learn like that. Yeah. So Geoff, myself, Daniel, Alex, we are all here to help you in various aspects of photography. Like Geoff is in commercial advertising. I'm doing lifestyles and weddings and whatnot. The younger stuff, Alex has got a style of his own as well, doing very interesting portraits, having hard lights, and also his food styling is amazing. Yeah. So I think while we were doing this, Alex was killing it with I think 200 over people watching him on Canon's page. Yeah. So this is what Raw essentially is all about. We are here to give back. from what we have gained over, mine is 10 years lah, but Geoff is like 20 over years. So yeah, I have lots to catch up as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sharing a website on the chat group, which is 2.0, right? This is that mentoring, consulting, business side hustle of mine. I share with you my experience, my time, and I will mentor you as a photographer, curate your work. I've got different packages at different price points. If any of you are interested, drop me an email. This website gives you an idea of what I offer. But if you're keen, drop me an email. I'll send you the packages that I have that I can help you, achieve what you want as a photographer. All right. All right, cool. So if not, I think I hope you enjoyed yourself. I learned a lot from sharing. The idea of sharing, the idea of educating and teaching is actually a very fruitful one for me when I'm conducting workshops, because I need to articulate my thoughts to make it understandable to all of you. It actually sharpens me a lot, and in turn makes me a better photographer and a better person in general. So, and I thank you for that. I appreciate you giving me this chance and you spending your time with me. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night.
Thanks, Geoff.